What I'd like to demonstrate is going to entail the making of movies. This is fun, hugely powerful, and probably the technique that NLP is most famous for. So the reason why this is so famous is because it's so powerful and it really works, and what it has the capacity to do in such a short frame of time is remarkable. Because some clients may go to the psychotherapist for years to help them overcome just a phobia of slugs or of something funny, okay? And they may get results, maybe just limited results, maybe no results at all. You're going to have a model where you can ecologically help somebody overcome a phobia in 20 minutes, and it's sustainable forever. Not only is this model useful for phobias, it's also a model that's excellent to help people deal with trauma. Why would the same model be useful for both trauma and phobias? Well, what are people doing who experience trauma and phobias? They are associating into the experience here and now in their mind. And when they think about that past experience, they have such a powerful kinesthetic, physical response to it right now, that is the phobic or traumatic response that they're living in the here and now. And a phobia, in NLP terms, is just an irrational fear. It's when there's no need to be afraid because it's not a life-threatening situation, but the person's afraid. So when I was a little person, a big ferocious dog, or so it seemed to be big when I was little, came barking and bit me. Now I'm an adult and I have a fear of dogs. I think a healthy fear of certain dogs is maybe a good idea to save my life when certain watchdogs trained to kill are released and I need to get the heck out of there fast. But when the little Maltese poodle comes out to me, and I have the same reaction of fight and flight response, it's a bit of an irrational fear, isn't it? The little dog is absolutely harmless. But because I've got the cellular memory of an experience in the past, I'm suddenly reacting abnormally. That's a phobia. Trauma is, there was a past experience, the energy associated with that significant emotional event is triggered every single time a particular stimulus brings it up. And you relive that feeling whether you're consciously or unconsciously aware of what the trigger is. We deal with traumas in the same way. We had an experience in the past. It was a tough one for us to deal with. Every time I now see a particular kind of person, I'm reminded of something and my body goes into a traumatic response. Post-traumatic stress disorder. What this model does is it retrains your neurology. It takes you back to that first significant event where you had an experience that is causing you trouble in present time. And it teaches your unconscious mind that it's okay, first of all. You got through it, you survived, and you grew up to tell the story. With trauma, we need to be very careful. We need to have excellent calibration skills. As a practitioner, I will suggest be careful, probably don't. Try and help people clear traumas with this model until you've practiced it a lot and you're really confident and you've done it with people with maybe light little traumas and you're really familiar with it and working with people on a therapeutic basis. None of you have a therapeutic background, a counseling background. You do have. Linda, you also have a counseling background. But unless you're trained as a therapist with many other things that obviously we can't fit into a short course of this kind, I would suggest steer clear of dealing with trauma. But phobias, you'll be able to deal with those. What you want to know if you're going to start to do this with light traumas, as I say, how do you gauge what's a light trauma? It is as the person talks about it. Do they just get a little bit uneasy, or they can't talk about it. Because if they do, they go somewhere so dark and horrible that it is unbearable, and they need urgent help or medication to get them out of it. That's what we don't do. But can they talk about it and cope with the really unpleasant but manageable traumatic response? That's a light trauma that you can deal with. Okay. And I will still suggest that you get lots of practice before you do this in real life. Practice with phobias. Practice with people who you know they're in complete control, they just haven't quite got over it yet. So I think as a way of showing you more about how this works and then answering your questions about it afterwards, let's do a demonstration. So at this stage, would you care to tell us a little bit about what it is that causes this reaction, this fear, or whatever you want to call it?
There's 3 distinct moments in my life where I've hit this fear. One of them, when I was small, I can't remember how old it was. I tried to go back to it to think how old I was. Father left me in the car with the car keys and the whole bang lot. And I remember I'd locked the car, which I wasn't aware of, and I couldn't get out. And there was no exit for me, and I started to panic and wonder, how am I going to get out of this car? I'm outside, I'm alone, I can't get out. And I literally took the safety bolt, the thing, and I started smacking the window, hoping it would break, so I knew there was an exit out. And I remember my father coming and seeing me in this state and just asking me to please find the keys and open the car, which seemed so logical at that stage. But that emotion is like, I can hang on to that for dear life. And another one was, obviously, when I was older at school. I remember classroom was it's very vivid for me. Windows had burglar bars, classroom door, I needed to go out to the bathroom, asked the teacher if we could go out, got to the door, and the door wouldn't open. And that was it. There was no exit strategy. It was like, okay, how do I get out of here?
The feeling of that?
Geez, that's pretty much the way I feel right now.
You feel it right now, and the one in the car?
Yeah, this car is a little bit more difficult to associate with.
But the feeling?
My heart is racing, and I don't know how to get out. I need a way out. That's my thing. I need to get out. I don't know which way is going to get out, because my door option is not there anymore.
Yep.
The other moment, which probably was the scariest one for me, is I was in Italy with my cousins, and I must have been about 14, 15 years old, and they lived on the 6th floor in a unit in Rome, and we were going up the elevator. My cousin stopped it to rather change direction. He forgot something downstairs, and when the doors opened, there was a concrete wall. We had opened between.
It's an elevator.
Yeah.
So you're in an elevator, the doors open, and there's just a wall.
Yep, and that hit. Yeah. In Rome, it happened more than once. We were going to have dinner in a restaurant that's called the Mushroom, and it's a cylinder and restaurant on top. Same thing happened. They stopped the lift to change direction, and the doors opened. No exit strategy. I'm stuck here. So.
Okay, good. I know that that's really vivid for you, and I say thank you very much for describing those 3 examples. It's more information than I need right now regarding the past experiences, but there's just one little thing I need to ask you about. What is the actual problem to you in your life right now? Which situations do you typically find yourself in where this thing gets provoked?
Getting into an elevator, going to, that's the most easiest, or walking into a room where I need to lock the door behind me, and I sometimes do it is like check if the door opens and closes properly. Okay. Just to make sure that if I do close it, I can open it at my ease and get out again.
Did you do that here at Riverside Estates? Yes, just make sure the door unlocks again, so there's an escape route, escape strategy, as you say. Okay. And is the problem regarding the lifts the getting into of the lift, or only once the doors close?
Only once the doors close.
You're absolutely fine to enter the lift?
Well, when I get in initially, my reaction is like, is there a way out? So I usually try and avoid getting in, because I really see myself in the lift.
If there's steps, would you take them rather?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Within reason. Not
Oh
quite
no,
clear.
I've done some strange things.
You find the fireman's pole if there's one.
I actually book hotels like that. Funnily enough.
This determines how you go on holiday?
Yeah.
Ah.
I'll actually find the holiday and make sure that I book me like first or second floor and not higher up. And I've done it. And I've done it without anybody trying not to make it obvious.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this has a pervasive effect throughout your life if you really think about it that way.
It does, yeah.
Jeepers creepers. So are you ready to have a life-changing experience?
I'd love to.
Okay. Because you know what? Thank you so much. Just leave all of that stuff. Those emotions are useful information. So we welcome them because they tell us about where we get to make changes that are relevant and important. So I'd like to thank you for being brave enough to talk about that, especially in this kind of a situation, and get in touch with those feelings so that now you can just leave them. And you know, sometimes I use this old wiper blade across the windscreen of your mind just to neutralize that. And sometimes we need to do things even more radical. So I'd like you to imagine whatever you need to imagine. That could just be the imagination of diving into that swimming pool and feeling the ice cold water and coming out safely on the other side, and doing whatever you like to do in your mind so that you go to a safe space when you feel completely safe. As a matter of fact, there's one thing I'd like to ask you about. Is there a safe place for you, a space, an area, whatever it might be, where you like to go just mentally, or maybe it's a place you actually physically go to that you can think about now, where you just feel really comfortable, good, every kind of potential maybe it's an open space, maybe it's indoors, whatever it is, but everything you need to know and have and do and be is just the way you like it. Does something come to mind?
Yeah, I remember lying on the beach in Mauritius.
On the beach in Mauritius. Okay, it's an awesome feeling to be lying on the beach in Mauritius when you can just, you know, on holiday.
That's it.
Okay, and there's something about just lying on the beach in Mauritius that is unique to just the Mauritian beach, isn't it?
That's right.
And as you're there having this experience, just lying there on the sand, on a deck chair, on a deck chair, umbrella overhead?
Yes.
Is it a reeded umbrella or
It's
a
a reeded umbrella.
There you go. Sound of water, wind, people.
People, the ocean.
Awesome. The smell.
That nice salty.
No other sort of cocktail in hand.
Oh no. Just
Alright.
absorbing the sun.
Absorbing the sun, taking it all in on your deck chair, the Mauritian beach, having that salty, awesome, relaxed type experience, which is like the experience you can have as you're here right now. And I'd like to know, would it be okay if I could, for example, place one finger just on the top of your hand like that? Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Because that's all I'd like to do right now. Is I'd just like you to imagine you are there, having that Mauritian experience on the deck chair, on the beach, enjoying the view, the scenery, the smells, that feeling of being on holiday as you are now, having this right here, safe, comfortable experience. And that's what that means. Okay. So each time I touch you there, you can just feel as safe and as comfortable as you like to be. Good stuff. So, we're going to do something now. And this involves a bit of creative visualization. But you don't have to be good at visualizing to be able to do it, because any way you do this is fine. All we're going to do is go to the movies. And I'm going to ask you to imagine that up there on that back wall, if you can imagine, those are scenes of a movie, but what's on those is gone. It can just be blank because you get to create a movie up there. But you're not going to watch the movie from here. You're going to watch the movie from the projection booth up there that is beaming the light onto the screen. That's what you're going to get to do. And you're going to watch a movie up on that screen, which will be something that I'm going to prompt you to create. But you get to watch it from far away. So far away that you can actually, as we're sitting here, imagine how many rows of seats there are between us and that screen up there. You can be right at the back of the cinema. And you know what? It's one of those cinemas that doesn't even have a back. It's completely open. All right? Completely open. There isn't even a door that you need to go out. It's an open air theatre. Should we do it that way?
That's great.
Sort of an open air type of place. But what we've got is all these rows of seats and the screen all the way over there. What you do right now is just imagine that you can kind of project yourself into the projection booth. That's right. So that you're looking down on the back of your head, watching you watching the movie screen. So that you're looking at the back of your own head, watching yourself watching the movie. You're looking at the back of your own head, watching yourself watching the movie. Safe here. And what I'd like you to do right now is watch yourself watching the movie up there of the first scene at the beginning of that first moment, the first time you felt that feeling which you described to me. And does a particular scene come to mind? It might have been one of those that you've just explained to me, or it might be something that goes even further back in time. Go with the first one that comes to mind right now. There's one there. Just sort of freeze the frame at the beginning of that movie. Now what I'd like you to do is just keep watching the back of your head as you are, watching the movie. And I'd like you to play that movie through, all the way through that difficult part, all the way through that, all the way through to the end, until you see yourself at the end, all fine, everything is good, you survived. Yeah? You watch it all the way to the end, very good. Now freeze that end scene. You're back in a comfortable state, watching the back of your head, watching the movie. At that end scene, completely safe, completely okay, and you know you're okay, and you know you survived, and it's fine. I'd now like you to float out of the projection booth and back into your body. I'd like you to go and imagine, and you can do this part with your eyes closed, just imagine that you're going up to yourself in that scene at the safe ending. And as your future wiser self, your present self, going back in time to that past experience now, just go and comfort your younger self and provide him with the resources, the information, the support, the love, the whatever it is that he needs to know that he got through it, he's okay, he survived, it's all good. Just kind of communicate to that younger self. Let him know exactly what he needs to know. You could even imagine as your older, wiser self asking him, what does he need that was missing at the time? And then imagine just providing that. And if you haven't already, then go ahead and just imagine giving him a big hug. Good stuff. Let him know he's okay. And when you're done with that, come all the way back here. Cool. And how are you doing?
Great.
Yeah? That wasn't too difficult.
No.
Quick. You did it very well, actually. Well done. We're almost done. So here's all we're going to do now is, you told me about that experience in the car that you had a long time ago. And as you think about that experience now, how do you feel?
I feel like I was being a bit silly.
Okay. Well, but you were little and you were doing the best you could. You didn't know better, huh?
Yes.
You didn't know better. And we've all been young and made irrational choices and behaved erratically. But here's the thing. You know better now.
That's right.
And here's the other thing. So does he. And here's the other thing. You're the same person. That's cool. Hmm?
Yeah.
All right. When are you going to have the opportunity to go in an elevator again?
probably when I go see one of my clients.
Okay. And there's a particular building that comes to mind where the elevator is that you'd be going into?
No, I can't picture the building at the moment. No.
Is there one that you can picture where you're likely to go in an elevator? Even in Pretoria? When you're back home, or?
Yeah, no, somewhere else we go on holiday, yeah.
Okay. If you imagine going into that elevator right now and the doors close, what happens?
Nothing.
The elevator's going up to your room. That's fine.
Yeah.
Elevator's going up to your room. You're still in it. How are you feeling? Is this an uplifting experience for you?
Very strange.
And the doors open as they do, and you go back into your room. Okay. Now, they give you the wrong room. And it's quite a small little room. And you go inside, close the door behind you, and you enter the room. What do you do next?
I walk to the window, open the window, and just look what's outside.
It's a little bit different from what you've done before. That's a bit interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
Huh. Do you think for now, until you get to actually go and have that experience, you're done? Or would you like to go back to the movies and have a bit of that kind of...
I feel like I'm confident enough, but I'm not 100% sure.
You're not 100% sure?
No.
Here's the thing. What's it going to take for you to be 100% sure?
To be more confident when I walk into that.
To feel more confident,
Yeah, more confident.
when you're walking into the elevator?
The elevator or the room.
All right. How do you think you could feel more confident walking into that elevator?
Being 100% sure of myself that everything is good.
Being 100% sure of yourself. Because everything is good. So what are you going to do to make sure you can feel 100% sure about yourself?
I'm going to be rest assured myself that everything is good.
Good. And I'm curious. How do you go about the process of making sure that you do feel confident and that things are feeling the way you want them to feel?
I might just do this.
Oh, you've got resource anchoring. All right. So maybe there is like a confidence anchor. Or maybe you can remember something else about how confidence feels inside you. Because I know we've had that discussion already. Just a suggestion. You don't have to absorb that deeply and utilize it. Unless you want to feel really confident. So yeah, there's a few things you can do. And they'll build your confidence. But here's the thing. Most probably your confidence will come from all the experiences you're going to have when you just feel all right. And you're comfortable and things go well over time. And with that, the confidence will grow. So it's fine for you to go ahead and use the techniques that you know you've got. Get those things spinning in the direction that you want. Stack them over here, whatever you want to do, because they'll help you initially to feel a bit confident. But I think that authentic confidence comes from the experience of things going the way we want them to go over time. So you get to look forward to all those things. Yeah?
It's an elevator nearby.
Well, you can decide. All right. Now are you feeling a bit more confident about your ability?
Yes, I am.
To help yourself to feel confident to go and have uplifting experiences?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Are you done?
Yes.
You sure? Oh, really, Jevon? Is that all there is to it? Yeah, that's all there is to it. And you mean to say that's going to get rid of phobias? Mm-hmm. I've seen it happen over and over again. We've had somebody with a fear of heights be our demo subject. He couldn't even go to the second story and look over a balcony, and down there, loft, where you're staying, he went right up there. He couldn't do it before. And he leaned right over the balustrade and looked down, and he was fine. Before, he was wetting his pants. Okay? It works fast. You can test it straight away. Questions?
And where did you put this anchor? Is it just the finger? You told us?
One on the bangle.
Yeah.
That's the safety here and now. Two, pointing up to I want the client looking up. Why? We make pictures when we're in visual, looking up. Mm-hmm. Look up on the screen over there. Mm-hmm. Now I want you to imagine that you're floating up there into the booth. Mm-hmm. The reason why these are relevant are mainly in case my client associates.
What is it useful for?
Double dissociation.
A double dissociation.
And the reason why double dissociation is useful is because it makes the unbearable bearable. When you're looking at the back of you, who's looking at something on a screen far away in the distance, then whatever takes place on that screen is easy to watch. Where in the past, the inclination of my client, before they came to me for the trauma or phobia, they were associated. To have a phobia or trauma, you must be associated. And when they're associated, especially with trauma, they're having the full kinesthetic reaction right now. And in that experience, you cannot be objective, and therefore you cannot dream of healing the root cause and integrating resource and stuff because you're in it, having it. So dissociation would be just seeing it up there. That may be good enough, might be, but for safety's sake, we double dissociate. So they're not even looking at the screen. The screen's in peripheral vision. They're looking at the back of their heads. Them over there is looking at the screen, and it makes it from here easy to do and safe to do. And then I release it and they go up to it at the end of it, after the scenario that was the difficult part. It's the original experience that my client had that is the cause of the phobia. And it goes only through this experience. At the beginning of that cause, the beginning of the situation, whether it literally happened or it's just a metaphoric representation of something, doesn't matter to me. The unconscious mind knows it's got to bring up what's relevant for this healing process. There's the movie of the person's life, but there's one little incident in the past of the person's life which is the cause of the phobia or the trauma that they're having now. Okay? Now that situation is usually what they're associated into unconsciously, because that's how they get to have the kinesthetic so strongly in their body now. That is the phobic response or the traumatic response, because they are associated. So now that's the situation that we're putting up on the screen, and we're stopping this little movie from playing at the start, and then we're playing it through. So they watch the whole root cause situation up there on the screen to the end, where your younger self gets through to the other side of the situation, and she or he has survived and is okay. And that's the situation where the client now comes from the projection booth back into their seat, and then imagines from the seat. That's why I close the eyes, because now they do a lot of visualizing, and with eyes closed it's easier generally. And now they imagine walking up to the front of the theater, into the screen, and they associate. Now they are there in the situation with their younger self, and they're providing the younger self through communicating with whatever is missing to the younger self. You know, we gave a meaning to that experience back there. The meaning caused the belief that is the cause of the trauma and the phobia that I have now. So the older self, your client, is now going back to re-educate her younger self with a new meaning and love and new knowledge and a hug perhaps, and whatever it is that was missing to the younger self at the time. Whatever the younger self needed that was missing to her at the time is what the older self or your client is now imagining giving to her younger self. So she's retraining this part of the unconscious mind. It's a part of the unconscious mind, the inner child. Because that part hasn't grown up. That part is just as old as it was when it had that traumatic experience in the past. It's still a 3-year-old or 13-year-old or 30-year-old, or maybe my client's now 50. It hasn't outgrown that experience. Now it's getting the opportunity to outgrow that experience. It's pretty much to your script, and all you're going to have to do is follow the steps in your notes. Okay, there it is. That's VK dissociation.